Hey everybody, welcome back to the Triathlon Weekly News Roundup presented by thefeed.com. My name is Travis and today is probably the biggest episode of the Triathlon Weekly News I've ever done because so many headlines have been coming out since we last spoke. And we've got two massive races coming up with the PTO Asian Open and the Paris test event, so strap in, we've got lots to talk about. As always though, we start off with some results, and this weekend was a quiet one. It was just Xterra Czech Republic that took place, however, the Emberman results came in, so we'll dive into that just briefly before touching on everything else. So, Xterra Czech Republic's the fourth stop on the Xterra World Cup, which is their first ever big series that they're doing. They're pumping in a lot of prize money, $340,000 on offer over the World Cup to these athletes, and I just love it. I'm starting to get into that racing. They do a great job with their broadcast. They don't have too many viewers, but that's why I thought I'd share it because I think what they're doing is amazing to help the sport grow. We have so many great athletes come out of Xterra, for example, Flora Duffy, and you might know Bradley Weiss now after his performance at the US Open and training with Jan Frodeno. He's a two-time Xterra world champion. So I love seeing what they're doing, and hopefully it keeps growing. Felix Farissier, who took the win on the men's side, and Solène Billion of France took the win on the women's side. She actually won the short track race as well. So great racing over there in Practice, Czech Republic. If you want to see more about Xterra and the World Cup, check out this video, linked down below. But then there was also the Emberman race, which the results just came out, and it was Arthur Horso, Sam Laidlow's training partner, who we've talked about before because he didn't get his World Championship slot for Nice, and then Ironman gave him one. Well, he took the win here, showing that he is perhaps one of the dark horses for the Nice World Champs. He beat the course record, and he is looking on fire. So congrats to him. And then it was Jean Cologne, who you might remember, who won the Alpe d'Huez race, who took the win on the women's side by quite some margin. So two really exciting up-and-coming athletes doing well at that really tough race. And then I guess one last result to share with you guys since we last spoke, and that was Paula Findlay competing at the Time Trial World Championships. She took home 25th place for Canada. I think that's pretty remarkable considering she didn't have quite the ideal lead up, racing the PTO US Open, flying all the way across there, having her bike held up as everybody seems to these days. But she pulled off a decent result, and it looks like she wants to do it again. But now we can move on and jump into the news headlines, and like I said, this is my third time recording because so many have been piling in. We can start off with the big one. I saw it last week, and that was Alistair Brownlee showing that he actually had surgery on his ankle to remove a bone spur. That thing looks pretty serious, and oh my goodness, it makes sense why apparently his running wasn't coming back to its full form. He kept us quite in the dark for some time after not racing Ironman Lake Placid, not qualifying for the World Champs. But yeah, it looks like something that was just out of his control, but thankfully we'll see him hopefully back racing later this year. And then at number 2, and this is another injury that just came out, a big headline, and that was Lucy Charles-Barkley. She showed a picture on Instagram of what looked like a broken foot. I saw some people comment on there worrying that she was out for the Asian Open, and then also some people were hoping it was Reese's foot. I don't know about that. But she actually just put up a video explaining that it was a fracture that was caused back a couple months ago from 70.3 Kraichgau from the swim start, where she felt something go wrong in her foot. It was a torsion fracture of her third metatarsal, but nothing that she could have controlled, nothing it seemed like from training that caused it. But thankfully she's managed to maintain enough fitness throughout the injury to make the start list at the Asian Open, and she'll be there racing. She was doing stuff like 100-mile bike rides in a moon boot, as well as a lot of rowing, which apparently she was at the level to almost qualify for the GB team, which is remarkable, but not surprising with Lucy. Just so glad to see it wasn't something recent and that she's doing really well. So I think we can all agree that triathlon racing is better with Lucy in it, and hopefully she is in fine form come the Asian Open on Saturday. But then moving on to the third piece of news, and this is a big one. This is my thumbnail, and that's Gustav Iden. At first, the headline for me was that he just finally responded to the, Paris test event where he didn't get onto the start list thanks to the Norwegian Federation choosing Kasper Stornes instead of him. And he said he was told that he was just not good enough, even though he had earned his position on that start list. But he also shared in there that his schedule, because of that, has now changed. And we can see that that is the case. Not only is he racing the PTO Asian Open, but he is now on the start list for the 70.3 Worlds in Finland, which is big news because now we'll see both Christian and Gustav racing both of those races, which I think is going to be super fun to see. And potentially, could this be a sign that he might be racing Nice? Maybe that's a little bit of speculation, but you never know. Olaf has said it doesn't take too long to get those two in shape for a full distance race, and I think this might be just enough time for him to possibly do it. But yeah, it looks like he's got some fire in his belly after the Norwegian Federation decided not to choose him. I wouldn't want to be Kasper Stornes, by the way, having to take Gustav's spot. They were obviously training buddies in the past, but there has been a lot of beef between Gustav and Christian in the Norwegian Federation, we've heard, with them deciding to go their own way with their own coach. So really interesting to keep track of that, and seeing Gustav on the 70.3 World Start List is pretty exciting. Now the women's start list also came out. It looks pretty spicy as well. We heard Daniela would be racing. Taylor's on there as well. Laura Phillips racing. Interesting to see Lucy's not racing there, so obviously 2 races with the Singapore Open and that race. It's just a little too much, but yeah, it looks super good as well. Moving on from there, another name pulling off of a start list, Magnus Ditlev won't be racing the PTO Asian Open. Him and his team decided, he said, to focus fully in on the Nice World Championships, and that's probably a good idea after seeing how well Jan did at the US Open. I think, yeah, it might be smart for him if he's trying to go for the win there. He said he was a little more fatigued and struggled after Challenge Roth than he thought he would, and took some time off apparently there before going to the US Open, which we all know it didn't go so well. And apparently he took that really tough as well. So this might be a great decision for Magnus, and yeah, he's going to be firing on all cylinders at Nice. And then moving on from there, perhaps a better piece of news, and that is Ruth Astle is back running, and she looks like she is ready to put in a couple of good blocks before heading out to Kona. It's great to see after she suffered a calf tear, which it seems to be, by the way, the season of calf tears, with Georgia Taylor Brown also suffering one, and Sam Laidlow, and there's probably a couple others that I'm forgetting, but it looks like all 3 of those are on their way back, with Georgia posting as well that she is actually heading to Paris to meet with the Great Britain team. However, she isn't on the start list, so I don't think she'll be racing. But who is on the start list, and that will bring us right into the preview for the Paris test event, and that's Flora Duffy. It looks like she'll be racing. She's pictured there in Paris. I'm so excited. We haven't seen her much this year thanks to a knee injury. We'll have to wait and see how her fitness is, because she'll be taking on the likes of Beth Potter, who's in fine form, Cassandra Beaugrand, the home favorite, you'd have to say, for this race, coming off of 2 victories at the WTCS level, as well as Sophie Caldwell, who's firing this year, and I can't wait to watch that race. On the men's side, you got Christian and you got Kasper, like we talked about, the Norwegians, but you've also got Alex Yee and Hayden Wild, which I think we're all lucky to be able to watch. And then you've got the whole French team, including Vincent Louis, who's back. I can't wait to watch this race, and it's apparently the most beautiful course. You can see the Eiffel Tower from transition. The bike course has got cobblestones in it, but we're all just waiting to see whether that River Seine is clean enough for them to swim. Otherwise, we'll see a duathlon, which wouldn't be great, you'd have to admit. And you know none of the athletes want that. Perhaps maybe a couple of the strong bike runners, but it's so important for the athletes because they could qualify for the Olympics. Most of the federations have this event as one of the ways to automatically qualify for their nation for the Olympics. So these athletes are not going to take this race slow at all, and we could see them try and practice a lot of the tactics that they might do in Paris next year. So tune into that one. It's going to be all fireworks. It kicks off at 8 local time on Thursday for the women, 8 on Friday for the men, as well as the pair event on Saturday, and then the mixed relay on Sunday. Asian Open, I think, is the big one for the PTO. It's their last race. They scrapped the Collins Cup to wait for next year, and apparently there's 5,000 age groupers going to be participating in all the events going on. So the spectating is going to be amazing, especially since it's in the heart of downtown Singapore. It's the first ever triathlon swim in Marina Bay, which I think is going to be beautiful to watch. And then the bike course looks insane, and it's got 5 laps, 1,000,000 corners, and it really will favor those technical cyclists. like Gustav Iden, you'd have to imagine. And then the run course looks pretty tight, pretty close in, so the athletes will be able to see each other as they're heading out on those laps, and I think it's just going to make for a brilliant event. It's going to be hot, it's going to be humid. The men's start list features the likes of Max Newman and Sam Laidlow. Sam racing his first PTO race this year, but coming off of a Challenge London win, we'll have to see how his calf holds up. Max obviously is really focused on Nice, but man, he might want to add another title to his name. But you'd have to say Jason West as well might be the favorite for that race after being the closest one to Jan at the US Open. A lot of people picking him for both the Asian Open and 70.3 Worlds after seeing how fast he can run. But there's only 16 men so far on the start list, so we might see a few more jump on. And then also on the women's side, some big names, including Lucy Charles-Barkley, like we talked about, is back, and Haug as well, and you'd have to say she's the favorite for that one. And then we've got the likes of Fenella Langers and Sarah Perez-Sala joining in, which will increase the firepower at the beginning of that swim. So I think it's going to be a very different and fun one to watch. And yeah, I think this is going to be PTO's flagship event for the year to show what they're capable of. If you're looking to see how to watch that race, it's the same as their other ones. YouTube for most of us in the world, as well as the PTO Plus app. And then for those of you in Europe and India, I believe you have to pay to get access through one of the ways that they've listed on their website. So just go on there and you'll find it out. It kicks off at 3 local time, the broadcast, and then 3:15 it starts. Saturday this time for the women's and Sunday for the men's, so it's flip-flopped unlike the US Open. But yeah, again, it's like midnight, 1, 2, 3 o'clock for us here in the US. I'll be pouring a big cup of coffee to watch it because, yeah, hope to do a live watch along for the men's race. I have a prior commitment for the women's race, so not sure I'll be able to do that one as well, but definitely join in for the watch along. We had tons of fun at the European Open. Well, I did anyways. But we also have 3 more races, believe it or not. We have Ironman Kalmar in Sweden, where Lisa Norden will be the favorite to win there. It's a women's only race. Same with Ironman Mont Tremblant, where Sarah Crowley has made the trip all the way over, and you know, she'll be looking to overcome some setbacks that she's had, and you'd expect her to win there. And finally, it's 70.3 Ireland, where Kyle Smith has made it back on his start line after pulling out a 70.3 Andorra. He obviously didn't make the start list for the Paris test event, so he's going to hope to take the win at that race and hope it's some good weather in rainy Ireland. So we'll have to keep an eye on that. I'll keep you guys posted. And that's it for the big headlines and the preview. So we're on to the article of the week, and this one I think is brilliant. Now, usually I just want to share a good article with you guys, but this one is great, and I think you should definitely read it. It's so well written. It's about WTCS Leeds and the history of the Brownlee brothers there.
In front of his adoring home crowd. He'd won this event 12 months ago.
How big those races were, and this was in response to the British Triathlon Federation deciding not to host a race in Great Britain next year. And yeah, it's such a bummer because once you read this article, you see how big the racing there is and how important it is for the next generation. And this is the pinnacle of short course triathlon, and I really hope it gets back to this level in the future. And it's amazing to see how much the Brownlee brothers grew triathlon in that country, so highly recommend checking that one out. And then from there, the video of the week goes to Lachlan Earnshaw. Now this one really caught my eye as I watched it because I think it's very relatable to a lot of us who train for triathlons. We have a high carb, high sugar diet, and Lachlan explained that it got him to diabetic levels.
30% of athletes following a high carbohydrate diet for 4 weeks developed fasting glucose levels of a pre-diabetic.
He's made a complete change in his diet, and he tells us about how that's doing, and it's just a brilliant watch. I couldn't take my eyes off it. Great video, and I think that's an important one for Lachlan to share with all of us to hopefully be a little bit healthier in our training. I know I'll be tweaking a few things in my diet. And then finally, on to my hot take, and I think this one is very topical. We've seen it happen quite a bit recently. Athletes dropping off of start lines, especially the top athletes used in all the media and marketing. I think it would be great for the organizations to let us know when those athletes aren't racing. We've seen examples of this, for example, with Alistair Brownlee, like we talked about, not racing Ironman Lake Placid, and then not qualifying for the World Champs, and we didn't know anything about that. And then, for example, with the PTO US Open, we had some athletes like Chelsea Sodaro, for example, shown in all the preview videos. She wasn't racing all of a sudden. I've heard lots of people talking about this. Yeah, just super interesting. I don't think we need to know why necessarily, but just that they're not racing. I think that would be pretty fair to keep us fans engaged, especially, for example, with the PTO saying that they want a narrative about the pros all year long, and yeah, just leaving us in the dark makes it feel kind of weird and nobody knows what's going on. So let me know what you guys think down below. I think that's an interesting one. All right, that's it. I think that was a pretty long one, lots to cover. Hopefully you guys enjoyed. A huge thanks as always to my sponsors, thefeed.com and DeBoer Wetsuits. I absolutely love the wetsuit they've given me. Swimming is just a new joy right now, and they've given me a coupon code. If you want to pick up, for example, the wetsuit I have, you can use the Daily Try coupon code to get a free duffel bag from them, which is worth $150. So that's a great one I thought I'd share with you. So thank you guys so much for watching. Have a good one. Let me know everything down below in the comments. I'm super excited to read them. Have a good one. We'll see you later. Thank you for watching the video. If you're new around here, then don't forget to subscribe. This channel is all about helping triathlon become a huge sport through weekly news videos, highlights, motivational videos, race reporting, and anything else you can think of, with a splash of my own triathlon journey thrown in. The goal is for this to become the YouTube hub for everything professional triathlon, and I'd love to do it full time to give back to you and create an amazing community. To help me do that, I need you to get behind me by supporting me for the price of a gel on either Patreon or Buy Me a Coffee. You can also join in on the conversation on Discord and follow me on Instagram. The more support, the more content. And don't forget, it's simple. Try every day. We'll see you in the next one.